HOPESOLO is still upset to this day, and see how upset she is by reading more. She has moved on with her life, giving birth to a boy and a girl in March with her husband, Jeremy Stevens, and enjoying farm life in North Carolina. That does sound amazing. But even as Solo, arguably the greatest goalkeeper of all time, should ostensibly be out of the spotlight, she remains as relevant in the soccer world as ever. It's not just her role in fighting U.S. soccer over equal pay or even broadcast analyst work for beIN Sports. That keeps her name in the news. And does it? She'll never go out of the news. She can't stop. She's always doing something. She's very conflicted in her thoughts. Sometimes she's like more conservative in the way she does things, and then very liberal, and she's goes back and forth. Really doesn't know who she is. But she's trying to find it. So we're excited for her trying to find it. She says, HOPESOLO says, more people are interested in my life, having twins and fighting for equal pay, than she tells Yahoo Sports before cutting herself off, as it was a loss of words. I've been out of the game for quite some time now, so it's kind of makes me chuckle that we're still getting a Hollywood magazines for having twins and things like that. That doesn't figure to change anytime soon. Even after years away from the game, bits and pieces of her playing career resonate, keeping her in the conversation, whether it's her recent Hall of Fame snub or her still viable lawsuit against U.S. Soccer. Yeah, so HOPESOLO, she's going to keep fighting. That's just her nature. I think that's what made her a great goalkeeper. You know, she has command, even though she's commanding a lot of things that seem redundant, but she'll hop on. But I do like her. At least she's honest in her thoughts at the moment, kind of like me. I'm kind of honest in my thoughts at the moment, which get me in trouble lots of the times, and I have to say I'm sorry lots of times. So be it. Solo's equal pay lawsuit. Let's talk about this. When Solo first learned that a judge dismissed the wage discrimination case filed by her former U.S. women's national teammates earlier this year, she was crestfallen. Really? Well, you have to have a case and you need to argue it the right way. It's not all about what you think is right and what may be right. You might want to litigate it a little bit differently like they did. They didn't litigate it in such a way. That's why you have to have good lawyers. Good lawyers win. We all know that, O.J. Simpson. Reading on, the lawsuit was not hers. She was her own separate equal pay case against U.S. Soccer Federation she first filed, which remains unresolved. So her lawsuit is still going, and where I think this is heading is if she wins, it opens things up for the rest of the team. But it was, and I read on, but it was disheartening news nonetheless. She immediately called the U.S. women's national team chief legal counsel, Jeffrey Kessler. She says, to figure out what went wrong, we had a meeting and asked him why in the world this happened, she says. We have an attorney analyze the summary judgment, and we do believe there are some holes. I told the teammates numerous times we can't just rely on attorneys. We have to read every document. We have to. We have lived this life, and we know the details. And what I'm afraid happened is they rely too much on the attorneys. No, you need to rely more on the attorneys. And, of course, you need to give them proper information so they can litigate on your behalf. But good lawyers can take care of things. Expensive lawyers. Spend the money, my friends. Spend the money. And it doesn't have to be a male or female lawyer. It needs to be the best lawyer if you want to win. That's just how this world works. And that's why we're in so much trouble, because lawyers do cause a lot of problems. And that's why we can't open half the things we want to open, because coronavirus will get sued. Yep, that's the world we live in. Solo's case, which was filed 7 months before the collective U.S. women's national team player poll pronounced their high-profile case, is very similar to the ones that has gotten the bulk of the attention and was dismissed in May. Both lawsuits argue that U.S. Soccer paid men's national team players more than the women's for the same work via larger performance bonuses. Maybe, maybe not. The way it was dealt with, they understand it legally that the women made more. They did. They should be more fed up that U.S. Soccer is paying the CEO $800,000, plus they're paying $150 a month in addition to that salary for his gym membership. Why doesn't that anger you? That should have came up. That's BS. Reading on. The U.S. women's national team has vowed to appeal the dismissal, but other parts of the lawsuit still need to go before trial. Before that can happen, a process that can be delayed by the pandemic. Solo's case, meanwhile, remains intact. Although the U.S. women's national team case in a class action lawsuit, meaning Solo could join in as a plaintiff, she has declined. Her case is stronger, she said, because never signed onto the 2017 collective bargaining agreement, which is true. That does make sense. So because she didn't sign the agreement that they signed, they signed an agreement, we agreed to these wages, and then 3 years later, you know what? We didn't like it anymore. We're in the limelight. We're winning the World Cup. Let's sue now. Right when the attention is huge. That's their thought process. And that's probably why they lost. It was more about trying to manipulate the media. And I get that's how we want things. We want the media to dictate everything, kind of like this presidential election and the one before that and the one before that. The media gets more and more part of the process. And it doesn't work all the time. You got to have the right judge. You got to make sure it's a judge that's liberal thinking, where they like that manipulation and they'll just vote according to how they feel versus what facts are. That is a problem. It exists, and it's going crazy, which scares me about this presidential election. Trump's going to lose. You could see the Democrats taking over the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress, all of it. And then we'll become like California. How are we not going to be like California? How's that not possible? If you legislate like California, you're going to get a United States of California. No, that's not possible. Trump sent mean tweets. Yeah, that's what's going on. I think a lot of people are being manipulated by the media, and they'll never admit it, and they just do according to what they're fed every freaking waking moment of the day. It's insane. It's insanity. How about just look and see what's going on right in front of you and judge that. Don't let anything that's come into your head dictate or influence you. You decide what you see in your community. You decide what you see in front of you. That's the way we should function, but we won't. We have to go to CNN and say, what are you telling me to think today? Oh, thank you. Are you one of those? Are you one of those? Maybe. Reading on. I didn't opt in because, this is Hope Solo, because I didn't believe it would put me in the best position knowing that our current players agreed to the CBA, the same CBA we fought for so long ago, so long not to agree to, she adds. So even Hope Solo just said right there, I didn't agree with the U.S. women's national team. It's a lawsuit because they agreed to terms. And that's what I talk about. Hope Solo, she doesn't even know what she's talking about. She's like, oh, I'm fighting for you. No, I'm not yet, And she's right. She's right. And I'm going to close it on that. Hope Solo just said she didn't agree to them. You agreed to these terms, and now you're trying to renege on them because of the timing of the World Cup. And that's why they lost their lawsuit. And maybe this is a process of doing something else and working towards a collective bargaining agreement. And it happens all the time. NBA players and all that. Everyone's never satisfied with what the agreement they made. And that's just horrible.